Hi, everybody, and welcome back. And thank you for your comments and feedback, particularly on my last two videos. I am unfortunately still working through all those comments as we are once again in a load shedding schedule. And this time we have a level 4, which means 3 power outages in 24 hours. And today we will even have one lasting longer than 2.5 hours. So this is also the reason why you may see no video from me for one day and then 2 videos the next day, as I'm not always able to post after finishing a video. Anyway, that is not why you are here or what you want to hear about. And today we are going to have a Meghan Markle fest. So put on your tinfoil hats, get your popcorn, and switch off the lights. Not in solidarity with me, but because this is going to be a horror show. In the last video, I touched on care.org using Meghan as one of their spokeswomen for Women's Day. And I posted the comment I got blocked on the Instagram page for. But they were not the only ones. Longevity magazine used Meghan, as did EAGC or the Eastern African Grain Council and a few others. I did what I did with care and commented on their Instagram pages, but eventually I just gave up. I am informed that Longevity had now also removed my comment. Anyway, I read comments on Instagram and Twitter and noticed that many people are commenting on Meghan's PR and in particular on Sunshine Sachs, working overtime, etc., etc. So I went off on a different tangent, looking into something completely different. Now, I read enough about Sunshine Sachs to know that they are not stupid. I know they are shrewd and very, very good at what they do, and therefore they have a number of rich and famous clients. Now, all of this is fact and it is a given. There is no arguing that particular point. So, why are they failing with Meghan? And that is what we are looking into today. Now, being who they are, Sunshine Sachs will not speak to me, a lowly South African YouTuber, but nor will they discuss their client or their methods and arrangements with anyone else. And that too is a fact. So, if you read a leak from them, you should know that it is most likely false. Any employee leaking anything from their company will be fired. And what is leaked, or in inverted commas, leaked, will have been carefully orchestrated and discussed and will not be a leak at all. So I spoke to someone else in public relations, and this is what she told me. She is sure that what we are seeing over the last few days, where the media is being bombarded with positive quotes supposedly coming from Meghan and questionable headlines in the newspapers, etc., etc., is not coming from Sunshine Sachs. At least not all of it, and likely not even half of it. And here is why. Firstly, time. Meghan is not their only client, and the amount of time they spend on her will depend on the contract or agreement or the actual package offered to her. Even if they have a staff member dedicated to working on, say, Meghan's social media image, most of everything he or she does will firstly have to be approved by management before it goes out to the media. And secondly, that staff member working on social media image, etc., etc., will most likely have at least one or two other clients he or she needs to do social media posts for. So Joe or Susie will be dedicated to working on Meghan's, say, social media image and posts, and say Michelle Obama's or Kylie Jenner's or whoever. Another staff member will be working on, for instance, media stories, and another on trying to get their clients into high-end functions, etc. And once a week, they will all get together to strategize or report back on the previous week's results, etc. And they will also discuss the coming week's plans, ideas, and strategies. The other option is that some PR companies will have one staff member per client working on the social media, newspaper, and magazine placements, events, etc., etc. So this one staff member will be dedicated to this one client. But again, this will depend on the package and agreement and the cost thereof. And in the case of Sunshine Sachs, this will be very, very expensive and not something Meghan Markle would have. But why not, you ask? Simply because Meghan Markle has her own Archwell public relations staff. If Meghan had a dedicated PR person within Sunshine Sachs, then she would not have had any need for private public relations. Secondly, a PR company's job is to know exactly how their client is being perceived in the media and what stories or gossip is doing the rounds, etc. It is thus highly probable that Sunshine Sachs know about all the negative things said about Meghan Markle. They know about the allegations against her, and they definitely know about Samantha's court case. The very last thing they would do is to flood the media or oversaturate the media and social media with Meghan Markle posts and stories. Instead, they will carefully consider different options and places to showcase their client. They will consider the client's strong points and stay away from her weaknesses. As such, they would have considered the bullying of other women allegations and the possible defamation suit from Samantha, and they would have stayed away from posting platitudes and plagiarized quotes supposedly from Meghan on Women's Day. Instead, had it come from Sunshine Sachs, the message from Meghan would instead have been something like a comment on the women of Ukraine and wishing them strength and safety during these trying times, etc., etc. They would have linked to the most newsworthy thing and used that as a token of Meghan's compassion and empathy. According to the PR person I spoke to, and in her opinion, many, if not most, of these posts we saw over the last few days came from Meghan herself, offering these tidbits or posts to the various organizations, magazines, etc. Or, of course, she could have given it to her own staff to distribute to these people. We know that Sunshine Sachs had a hand in the NAACP award, and yes, that was clearly something Sunshine Sachs advocated for and paid for on behalf of Meghan and Harry, because that is the type of thing and the type of work they do. That being said, and to be fair, because fairness gives us credibility, Meghan does not have control over everything and everybody the world over. And the EAGC may very well have found that quote and picture of Meghan in the media and decided to use it for the Women's Day celebrations. Bigger organizations and publications, though, like Care.org and Longevity magazine, will, however, not use quotes and pictures without permission, and it is thus clear that they have been in contact with Meghan and her PR, be it her own PR or that of Sunshine Sachs. In the case of Care, they used her voice as well, so they must have recorded her at some point and there must have been personal interaction. According to the PR person I spoke to, the Care recording was likely the only post or placement Sunshine Sachs was responsible for setting up. If any of the others were not just plucked from existing media, then Meghan herself was responsible for that. Now, with that out of the way, Meghan would like to feel and believe that she has 100% control over everything printed and said about her, but she is not. And today I want to talk about two such articles, and if this video gets too long or we have another power outage, I will do a part two, as I said, as determined by our electricity situation. The first article I want to talk to you about is the one in, I think it's the Mirror. In this article by Jennifer Newton, she quotes ex-BBC royal correspondent Peter Hunt saying that Harry and Meghan were subjected to a level of cruelty by the royals and that more could have been done to accommodate them. What got my blood pressure rising is that Peter Hunt told the Irish Times that Meghan could have been an asset to the royal family because, and I quote, she was able to give a speech in South Africa about being a woman of color who entered an institution that, to survive and prosper, needs to continue being the head of state in several other realms, which are Commonwealth countries, and it failed to do enough to keep her within the institution. Blah, blah, blah. And then, he continued, they managed to find a mechanism whereby Prince Edward can attend the Senator wearing a military uniform. They could have found a mechanism whereby Harry could have carried on. The fact that they didn't, referring to Harry and Meghan's offer of 1 foot in and 1 foot out, smacks of cruelty. Oh, really? Firstly, none of Meghan's speeches in South Africa went down particularly well in South Africa. Maybe at first and on face value, but on reflection, it left a bit of a bitter aftertaste among those who have any interest in the monarchy. She came across as entitled, with a superior attitude, as she preached to people in a country she very obviously knew little to nothing about. Firstly, she was stupid enough to call herself a mother, a wife, a woman of color, and a sister in a speech in Ilanga. Well, talk about snobbish, entitled, and downright rude and stupid. Well, firstly, she may be a mother, whether the children were adopted or born by a surrogate or not, but to liken herself to the same kind of mother as the woman attending is just simply ridiculous and delusional. None of the women there raised their children with nannies and nurses and security on call 24/7. Most, if not all of the women there went through at least one period in their lives where they were wondering where the next meal would come from for their children, or how they would get their kids shoes to wear, and none of those women ever had a chauffeur-driven vehicle to cart them and their kids around in. Meghan may thus be a mother, but she is nothing like the women there. She may be a wife, but none of the women there would ever know what it is like to be married to a British prince and all the perks that came with it. A woman of color. Well, yes, if you count the 2 drops of color in her blood, but Meghan herself has never identified as black or even as a woman of color. She has always identified as white, as illustrated by how she wears her hair, what she stated on her CV, the fact that she was never engaged or married to a man of color, and by what she herself said when in the past she pretended to be Italian or Spanish. A sister? From which mother? Meghan herself has never suffered any of the hardships or dangers any and all of those women suffer daily. Of course, those women attending the event did not know that at the time, as the British royals are not a major topic under the black and coloured community in South Africa. Now, I am not being racist here. They are not of major interest or a major topic among white women in South Africa either. Regardless of that, Meghan's speech was fraught with entitlement, assumptions, and fake empathy, which I have reason to believe some, if not most, of the women there in attendance realized after the event. Neither did she endear herself to the South African women who were not there and read about it afterwards. I know I have a few South African women in the comment section, and I would love to hear their opinion in this regard. But what I said is what I heard from the ones I did speak to. So please, Mari and other South African women, let rip in the comment section below. The royal family should have done more, according to Mr. Hunt. Like what? Should they have licked their backsides and given them millions more and a castle to live in? Exactly what would Mr. Hunt have wanted them to do? They already had all their expenses paid, a clothing budget, a beautifully renovated home, security, staff, and a 2.2 million annual wage from the Duchy of Cornwall. So what more was the royal family supposed to do? And where on earth would any employer allow an employee to work where and whenever they wanted to? I have no idea where Mr. Hunt's head is at. After all, he left the BBC after many years at the BBC, first as a political correspondent and then as royal correspondent for a position in the NHS. So whether he had turned anti-monarchist or whatever, I don't know. I just think his statements were ludicrous. As for his comments about Edward, he should know that all Edward's military titles are honorary titles, and those titles are not just dished out by the royal family. They are often requested by the military division or offered to them by the palace, but never are those titles just handed to a royal without the agreement or approval of the particular division. Edward currently holds the honorary titles of Honorary Colonel of the Royal Wessex Yeomanry, Commodore-in-Chief of the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, Honorary Air Commodore of the Royal Air Force Waddington, and Honorary Colonel of the London Regiment. Being given an honorary military title also comes with duties such as attending parades, displays, regattas, ceremonies, and or events. Hence, Edward is absolutely entitled to wear a uniform of the regiment he represents at the Senator, and Mr. Hunt, as ex-royal correspondent, should know that. Okay, guys and girls, as I expected, the video is becoming way too long, and I have just over an hour left to get it done on the laptop before the power will go out again. I unfortunately do not have a generator, not yet, um, because it is an expensive item, and also to keep it running is rather expensive. So we at this stage just prefer to sit it out. In any case, I will continue producing the second video, and once they're both done, I will likely drop them within an hour or two of one another. So I'll see you on the next one. Take care until then. Bye.